Today, I'm going to be building some of the most iconic scenes from the best Disney princess movie of all time, Beauty and the Beast. LEGO just released an almost 3,000 piece version of the Beauty and the Beast castle, and I could not be more excited. And this set has inspired me to expand upon the Beauty and the Beast world and really give the best Disney movie ever the right treatment, because if you didn't know, Beauty and the Beast is the only Disney movie to ever be nominated for Best Picture. First up is to get together all of the characters. Now, the Beast castle set comes with some new and long-awaited additions and also some new variants of characters that we've seen before in a variety of older LEGO Disney princess sets. However, despite having a relatively small pool of main characters to pick from with this movie, there are still some notable additions missing. First up, we have Belle, who despite already existing in another set, actually comes with a brand new skirt and torso print. Personally, I do prefer the older one as I think it matches the style of Disney's hand-drawn animation a lot closer, and I also would have loved to have seen the budget given to these new prints used to create Belle in her classic blue village dress instead, and having two Belles in one set just like they did a few years ago. One thing that I really wanted that we did get though is our first Beast minifigure, who has a slightly updated head print and comes complete with a tail. The only complaint about him I have is that I would have loved to have seen the legs be the same color nougat instead of this brown, as it does look like he's got boots on half the time, but I'm just really happy to finally have him. Maurice is the next new addition to this set, complete with green medium legs and some absolutely perfect face prints. Everyone knows he's a lunatic though. He was in here tonight raving.
Whoa, slow down, Maurice.
Gaston is the same as you'll find him in the Villains Icon set that LEGO released, but this time around it comes with a bow and quiver to decorate him to match his appearance in the song Kill the Beast. Similarly, LeFou also comes with a torch from this scene, and he is the final minifigure in this set, and I love his main face print. To round out the characters, we have some brick-built ones, starting off with Lumiere, who uses the standard candlestick piece, Cogsworth, who has a fully brick-built body this time around and a new face print, Mrs. Potts and Chip, who are on their service cart, Babette with a brand new face print, and Sultan the footstool dog. Overall, I love the selection and detail on the characters, however, there are a couple of upgrades I want to make. Firstly, I made Lumiere a little bit taller and made him more proportioned by adding a small cone to the bottom and a stud underneath his head. Then for Cogsworth, I attached this little gear piece to the back of him to make him feel more like a clock. Now, since Belle and the Beast's more casual looks weren't included in this set, I wanted to try and make my own. Starting off with the Beast, I decided to use Dale's torso from the Disney Minifigures Series 2 and then added a red cape from some Harry Potter minifigures. Then of course I had to make Village Belle. For her, I ended up stealing Wendy's dress from Peter Pan, and since she's also a Disney character, the dress design still fits the cartoon style that the rest of the minifigures have. I did have to sacrifice the white apron and leave her with a plain dress. With Belle now done, I wanted to get started on a small build from the village in the opening of the movie. The opening song Belle is such an amazing intro to the movie, as it takes inspiration from musical theater, progressing the story and establishing context throughout song. And for me at least, one of the more memorable parts of this sequence is when Belle slows down for a second and sits down on this fountain to read her book to a bunch of sheep. I built up a small square base and then tiled it off around the edge with black. However, I left a few open studs in the middle so that I could attach some curved bricks to make the edge of the fountain. For the fountain center, I built it up with dark gray slopes, round bricks and cones, and then used some clips and trans blue tiles in order to replicate the water pouring out of the sides. It's a very simple build, but once I added Belle and the sheep, the whole thing really comes together and makes for a perfectly small diorama. And with the opening scene now done, it's now time to turn our attention to the Beast's castle itself. This set is absolutely gorgeous and was a true joy to build, as well as now have within my LEGO collection. It is set 43263 Beauty and the Beast Castle and retails for $280 US, 450 Australian and 220 Great British pounds, with 2,916 pieces. I'd always expected LEGO to make a mini scale version of the Beast Castle out of LEGO, so to see a fully fledged adult focused version of this is absolutely incredible to me and a very welcome surprise. And thankfully this castle is a lot less deep than I expected, making it really easy to display. It measures at 53 centimeters or 21 inches tall and 33 centimeters or 13 inches wide, which means it can perfectly fit inside the smaller Billy bookcases from IKEA and makes it a very easy set to display, all things considered, with the height being the really only thing that you actually have to account for. Majority of the details with this set lie in the exterior, and they are all pretty much built into the actual set itself, with a few exceptions being these window panels along the sides, as well as these printed window tiles on the front. There's also a stickered coat of arms, but everything else is purely just brick-built detail, which is incredible. And the interior, while small, does actually showcase every single one of the important rooms that we see throughout the movie, which is really amazing to see, just given how limited this space actually is inside. Taking a look at the set, you'll be able to see that some of these rooms are much more fleshed out than others. However, every single main element that you would expect is included in this set. Now, the staircase section at the bottom actually can slide out, meaning that you can display this on its own. This entire micro recreation is the first bag that you will build in this set and is a really cute and well done version of this scene. However, it is kind of hard to display Belle in certain areas because of the way that the studs are placed and the fact that she has a sloped dress piece. The ballroom is also quite small and only really showcases the candelabra and feels a lot less grand than the movie depicts, though that being said, it does have a small gear that lets you make Belle and the Beast dance, which is a really neat and well integrated play feature. The most extravagant number in the movie, Be Our Guest, gets a feature in the dining room with a long decked out table featuring mini builds of some of the shots from the movie, including the infamous grey stuff. If you spin the dishes too, the whole table will dance, which is a really fun and neat play feature, and if you look closely at the back, you'll spot elements from the kitchen, including Chip's sleeping cupboard, a sink, and a stovetop. The stove has been shrunken down from his last version in order to fit the space a little bit better, but I'm glad that they kept that printed slope piece for his face. Moving up a level, you'll find the library, which we'll get back to later, as well as a mini version of the wardrobe that opens up to show a small storage space, which is perfect for keeping the sitting version of Belle's dress. Finally, right at the very top is a tiny version of the West Wing. Here you'll find the Beast ripped human portrait and of course the enchanted rose. This space is incredibly small and doesn't really give you much space to actually stand the Beast, which is a shame, although I am glad that they managed to fit both of these really important features into this set. From the outside of this room, you'll also see the stained glass window that is shown at the end of the movie, which this time around has been drawn to replicate Belle and the prince as minifigures, which is pretty cute. All things considered, I am really happy with this model and absolutely love how it looks. But that being said, I did want to try and expand on some of the rooms in this set that I found were a little bit too small for what they should have been compared to the movie. First up, I wanted to try and make my own version of the West Wing. In the movie, the space feels super cluttered and is completely destroyed right up until the end where the rose is kept. Like the set, I wanted to focus on this area primarily, so I built up a small elevated platform using grey bricks, tiling it off to make the surface smooth as shown in the movie. I then built up the windows by making 2 pillars and added some arches to make the whole thing curve and connected them both with a hinge joint. I attached it to the base and then I added the table from the Beast Castle set in order to finish it off. I would have loved to have added some more decor, but I couldn't find anything in my parts collection, so it's all just a very basic build, though I do still think it gets the point across. Now lastly, I wanted to expand upon the library portion of this set. Now this section of the castle is really unfortunately very small for what is a very impressive and grand looking scene and location in the movie. A few years ago, Sarah and Jason built a massive recreation of the library with an almost minifigure scale version of the scene, and it is one of the coolest Disney builds that I have ever seen. And whilst I would love to attempt my own version, I definitely don't think I would be able to build something to that scale, so I wanted to take a different approach instead. I saw this redesign of the Books Are My Passion set by Brickstory a couple of weeks ago, where she recolored and switched up the overall set's design to closer match the Beast library from the movie. And when I saw this, I thought it was absolute genius, so I wanted to give it a try for myself. For my interpretation, I knew I wanted to make it twice as tall, so it feels a little bit closer to the scale of the movie and has that wow factor that you get when you see the library scene for the first time. Like Brickstory, I color swapped the bricks of the shelf to be white. However, in my one, I ended up keeping the gold accents to a minimal. I used a variety of different colored bricks and pieces in order to make the books themselves and added in a couple of my favorite series as a few Easter eggs for myself. And I have to admit, it does look a little bit obnoxious just being one really large bookshelf, but I really love the idea of taking this set's concept and applying it to Beauty and the Beast. It is a fantastic alternative display if you do not have the space to display the Disney castle or aren't able to get it, but still want to have a little piece of that movie on your shelf. And I also think it would be really cool to see a version of this with multiple different bookshelves side by side and expand on this idea even more. Let me know what Disney princess movie you would love to see LEGO take on next, and if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, consider subscribing to my channel, and until next time, I'll see you later.